one answer. Hello. Thank you. You've all had coffee, right? Well, thank you so much for taking time to come today. And I'd also like to give a huge thanks to Win. So 4 years ago, this sales symposium was held virtually. We all remember those days, right? And it was the very first wine industry event that I personally and that RedChirp ever attended. And they were so welcoming, and I took notes through every single session, and I got connected with such wonderful people who gave those sessions that every time we come to the sales symposium, I'm reminded about what a beautiful place it was to start. So it's an extra special place to be, and thank you very much to Win for putting this on. I'd also like to extend a huge thank you to Adam. So I called Adam up several months ago and said, would you do this session with me? It's about a new feature that doesn't exist yet. I can only tell you some broad strokes about what it's going to be like, and hopefully it will all be ready in time. And can you believe it? He said yes. Yeah.
It's real fast, too. He said, it's going to be easy. We're talking about AI. I'm like, I'm in. We're done. Let's go. So bring me in.
Yes. So thank you. That was a huge leap. And that is the kind of enthusiasm and innovation and energy that Adam brings to DTC. So you're all in for a treat to get his perspective today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role?
Yeah. So I currently work at Lawrence Wine Estates. I've been there for about 2 years. I manage the e-commerce side, so I do all the updates on the website. I manage, execute, and analyze our email, text campaigns. Do a lot with RedChirp. I've been with RedChirp for about 4 years now, and never looked back. It's been a game changer. All the campaigns we send, it's been a huge success. You know, even for not just promotions, but information for our guests. Another way to communicate. It's been awesome. And then a lot of my times when I do my campaigns is a lot to do with segmentation. So anything before we send out a campaign, we want to make sure we target the right guests, target the right audience, and what we're talking about today has been really helping out with that part as well.
Well, thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the audience participation section, so you've been warned. I would like you to raise your hand if you have ever asked yourself or someone else, how often should I text my customers? How about, what if I text them too much, they opt out, and then I can't send them really important texts about club or shipments? Yeah? Okay. And last one, what about, how do I figure out who to send these text messages to? Yes. Okay, good. I hear these questions all the time. And these questions are what inspired one of our most ambitious expansions to RedChirp that we're going to talk about today, our new AI recipient optimization. So if we haven't met already, my name is Jenny Gilbert. I'm one of the co-founders of RedChirp. And let's dig into these questions and how we have some new things that can help you answer them. So first of all, there is no simple answer. I'm not going to be up here and say, the answer is 68. That's because every customer is different. And every customer behaves differently on different days and even at different times during the day. Okay. Does that ring true to your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't tell you enough. Every time I try to pull a report at a Commerce 7, I'll use queries, I'll use wine pulse reports, and I try to get the right answer. But, there's only so much I can do and so much time I can spend doing all that.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean that because there's no simple answer, there's no answer at all. Actually, in this industry, you have some really compelling advantages that not every industry has. So first of all, you have a lot of wineries. I pulled the numbers right before I came, a little over 800 wineries using the exact same platform, using RedChirp, sending tens of thousands of text campaigns, which means that each of you have some kind of anonymous access to 800 times the number of data that you could get just by yourself. Also, most platforms out there are trying to infer information about conversions based on things like link clicks or a small percentage of their customers that they can get to install more sophisticated tracking. But in this case, because of the deep integrations that we have with more than 8 point-of-sale companies in the wine space, we don't have to guess or make generalizations. We can actually tell, okay, this message went to this person, and then they made a purchase so long from getting it. Also, because of those same integrations, we know a lot about those people. And there are concepts that are similar. Like imagine if you were using some kind of generic platform and you wanted to know, like, well, how much does it matter if they're currently a member, never been a member, or once were a member but are not now? They would say, what's a member? Right? And then, of course, we are living through a time of rapid expansion in AI. And although I know most of us in our day-to-day lives are using AI to help us generate content, I use it all the time for that. But one of the most interesting developments in AI is the ability for developers to train their own models. So instead of using something really generic like ChatGPT, you can use a model that's trained with data that is specific to you. So that is what we have been very busy doing. We have trained our own proprietary AI model. And like ChatGPT, right, our model will have versions. We were on the first version of this model. It is available to use right now. So everything you're going to learn about today, you can go home this afternoon and use it in RedChirp. The first model is looking at 4 specific attributes about each potential recipient that you might send a message to. It is looking at how long it's been since they last made a non-club purchase. Apologies. It is looking at how long it's been since they last got a promotional text message from you. It's looking at how they behaved for previous text promotions. Did they buy? And if they bought from one, what percentile are they in? They buy a lot or less. And then we're also looking at their current club membership status. And the reason we're looking at these 4 things is that when we analyzed all of those results, these were the 4 things that kind of rose to the top as having the most impact as to whether or not someone was going to make a purchase when they received that text. So I am just curious, that's what the data told us. Were these things you were already thinking about when you pick your list?
Yeah, most of them. The club membership status, obviously, when I send out campaigns to members versus non-members, time since the last purchase I look out for, and the time since the promotional message went out. Try not to overdo it. A lot of the times our team's like, these campaigns are so successful, let's send one out right now. I'm like, we just sent one out 2 days ago, slow down. But yeah.
I hear murmurs. Has anyone had that conversation? Yeah, okay. You're not alone.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering, those numbers up there are the relative weight that we assigned in our very first version of the default model to each one of those properties. We're going to talk later about what weight means and how you can actually edit that for your organization, but those are the relative weights. So using that information, RedChirp can now predict how much each potential recipient of your message will like the promotion that you're thinking about sending them. Technically, it gives us 2 numbers as the output of that prediction. One is the sentiment forecast. That's a score from 0 to 100, 100 being the best, how favorable we think they'll feel about receiving this message. The other number that it produces is called a confidence percentile. How confident are we in that prediction? And the more we know about the consumer, the more confident we are in that prediction. And that is not a falling short if the confidence index is low. It just means that they are probably a newer consumer to you. Maybe they just bought wine from you one time and you don't know as much about them as someone who's been loyally buying for you for 10 years. Okay, so the next section here is where do you click to get to this and how to use it. So this is available to use right away. And you start by, in a bulk message, composing your message and uploading the list of everyone you think you might want to send this to. uploading it or pulling it in from any of the variety of options you have. Then you click on that three-dot menu, and you'll see this new option to click on. Now, full transparency. One thing that really bugs me about a lot of AI applications is the lack of transparency when you use them, right? It will give you some kind of answer, but most of the time it doesn't tell you why it gave you that kind of answer. So that was just a personal bugaboo of mine. But as we started building this feature, we wanted to start demonstrating a more responsible and a more transparent way to build AI into tools like this. So you're going to see throughout that we've really invested in three things: detail, transparency, and control. That, we think, is going to empower you to have more trust in the AI and to be able to customize it and use it more to your liking. So with those things in mind, transparency, detail, and control, you can click on that link down there, and it will actually tell you those numbers, the prediction and the confidence index for every single possible recipient. You may never actually click on that. You don't have to, but it is there if you would like to. It brings you at a table like this, and you can see what we know about each recipient and what we predicted and how confident we are in that prediction. And you can even pick a specific one if you would like Maribel here, and drill in. So Maribel purchased 48 days ago, her last non-club purchase. And so that little dot is where Maribel falls on the curve. Not the best place to be, but trending there. It's been a while since you sent Maribel a promotional text message. She's in a really good spot on that curve. Maribel has purchased from previous text campaigns. She's in about the 14th percentile about how much. And she is currently an active club member, so more likely to buy from this than if she was not. So again, you probably will not spend much time in that screen, but it is there if you would like to use it.
You could spend a lot of time looking at those. I go in there and I'm like digging through. I'm like, how about this customer? What do they do? And yeah, it's good to go in there, but you don't have to. It's just awesome to look at.
Well, that's interesting that you went in there. It is neat.
Yeah.
And I encourage you the first few times you use it to just to get confidence with what we're doing. Yes, there's a question.
Is that where you would remove people? Like, is it filtered by highest percentile 99 down to 4? Is how you upload the list? And where do you take people out if they don't seem to be a good fit?
Yeah, oh, great question. So if anyone couldn't hear, is that where you take people out? Is it filtered from highest to lowest prediction? So you can control how the table's filtered, so you can click on any column to sort by that way. That is not where you remove people. I'll show you here. It's really just information if you want to dig into it. But perfect segue, because this is how you actually decide what do you want to do with that new information. Okay. Oh, another question.
So is it the weights for each individual customer, or are the weights for a broader segment of the winery's customer base?
The weights of the 4 layers, yes, are they per customer or are they broader? The weights of each layer apply to every single potential recipient.
That's what I thought. That was when I saw the screen where you had a detailed list where Maribel was. I was like, okay, that looked like it was individually weighted.
Yes, so we showed you where she is on that curve, but the weight is how much are we taking into account the score of this particular index here. So if it's 84 is the weight for time of last purchase, that is being considered more than temperature, which the default weight is 10. Okay, great question. And we're going to talk a little bit more. You can customize that. I'll show you how. Okay, so excellent question. What do we do with this information? We are giving you 2 possible things that you might want to do with these predictions. You can do neither, you can do one, you can do both. The first option is to choose the right moment. And this is about risk reduction, right? The goal is to get less people to opt out, to remove people that the timing of this message is awkward. So for example, somebody just bought wine from you yesterday, might be an awkward time to send them a promotion today. Might make them actually feel like they missed out or feel bad about it. And this is the one you use the most, right?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in saying this is a spot where I usually go to because a lot of times it's like based on, last purchase or last time we sent a message. And I'm like, which one do I want to do? Do I want to do both? Do I do one? And it all depends on the campaign. Sometimes I won't use this at all, but if we're doing like a new release, I want everyone to know about it. Everyone's going to get it. But yeah, it just all depends. And it's great to have the ability to customize it the way you want, how you're going to send it.
So let's follow through with this one a little bit more. Let's say you choose that you want to choose the right moment. The next step is that you get to consider what things to look at. So we're always going to look at if they opted out. But you can just decide if you want to consider when they last purchased or when they last got a message for you, or maybe you don't. And most people I talk to about this at first say, why? Why wouldn't you always consider these things? There are different applications. Like let's say, for example, you are reaching out to first-time website purchasers with a special offer to attend one of your events coming up over the next few months. You do not want to consider the time of their last purchase because you are very specifically reaching out right after a purchase. Okay, see people nodding, that makes sense, good. Or maybe you're sending a last chance text about a promotion you already texted them about last week. Then you do not want to consider when they last received a promotional text message from you because you do want them to get a second one pretty quickly. Okay.
I was just going to say that's what we did with one of our campaigns. So we had a new release, and then we just want to make sure that anyone that hasn't purchased yet, here's the last chance. So obviously we took out people who made their last purchase, but we want to keep the people that received the text last, that they would still get it.
Perfect. And then you don't have to do all the who bought and manually take them out of the export list. Yeah. So remember, detail, transparency, control. RedChirp also then shows you exactly how many recipients we're going to remove, why we are removing them, and if you would like, you can click to get the Excel sheet that will tell you everyone's score, if they're being kept, if they're being removed, and why. Yes, Mark?
Can you set a date manually for last purchase or last received text, or is it all kind of automatic with the AI?
Mark, get out of my head. Great question. Can you set a manual, like I want to remove people who have purchased within the last 7 days? You can do that. And I will actually show you later how to do that. It is outside of this. So in this process, you're saying let the AI do it based on what the model knows. But if you would prefer to say, no, I want to make sure that nobody who purchased within the last 12 days gets this message, there is a way outside of this engine to remove people in that boat.
That's what I used to do. When you showed it to me, I'm like, I didn't even know this was here. And now I'm like, now I use this more. I'm like, it's good to have the option. Like if you want to have based on the last purchase through AI or manually, it's great.
Thank you. And I appreciate that question because I can tell you our team had some very passionate arguments when we were doing this about if we had to call it out there and what if people wanted to do it. We're like, they have both options available. Right. Okay. And then you can choose, by the way, if you want to apply it or not. So you can go through this, but it doesn't mean you're actually applying it. Right. Okay. So you also have a second option. You can choose the right moment, or your other option is to cull your list down to a specific number of recipients. This can be super useful if you have a limited amount of stock of the wine that you're about to text about. And so you want to text as few people as you need in order to sell out of that wine, because then you can text the people you didn't text about something else and not be bugging them too much, right? This might also be useful if you're trying to stick to a specific spend, right? We all have budgets that we have to work within. Text messages have a raw cost. So if you're saying I could text 10,000 people, but I want to stay within a certain spend, you can cull your list down. The other reasons might just be pure volume based. So if you are a very large brand, if you have a very large list that you could send this to, high traffic days like Black Friday and Cyber Monday are challenging because you are rate limited by the telephone carriers about how many texts you can send per second. So you might actually have more people you want to text than it is physically possible to send the text messages to. So this will let you more intelligently choose, well, what part of that list am I going to send? So this one's pretty easy to use. If you choose that option, your next choice is, well, how many do you want to send? And you can use the slider or you can type in your number. And the RedChirp AI recipient optimization is going to decide, all right, of the people that you have listed, who is it going to include? Now, most people, myself included, initially assume it's just going to pick the best, in this case, 1,500 scores. But actually, it's going to do something a little different. 75% of the list will be high sentiment, high confidence recipients. These are home runs. 25% of the list will be recipients we don't know very much about. So this technique is called salting. And it is critical, even though not something that might appear to you right away. If you don't salt, you would never message people who are new to your brand. And you need to do that so you can learn more about them and you can build loyalty with them. So this blew my mind. I did not expect it. Was it surprising to you?
Yeah, totally. Same thing. Like, I'm like, obviously I want to get the top of everybody, but I want to make sure maybe the people that just joined opt-in to receive text messages want to receive something like this. So I want to make sure that they get part of this as well. And then that way we can build and learn more from those people as well. It's great.
So just like with Choose the Right Moment, we'll tell you who's going to be removed. You can download the list. You can choose whether or not you want to apply those results. And you can do both of these. You could, for example, choose the right moment to get people out and then whittle your list down. Which actually brings me to a brand new addition that we added because of Adam. Tell us what happened and why you wanted this.
Yeah, so when I manage like 6 different RedChirp accounts for all of our brands, I'm like going back and forth between all the bulk messages and being like, okay, I'm going to apply the optimization for this one. And then I go back to another one. I'm like, did I already apply the optimization? And it wouldn't hurt if I did, but I just want to make sure, I actually did it before I sent the campaign. So I was like, hey, is there a way to add like a little reminder? Was there anything sent before? Did I already run this test? And can I do it again or not?
Yeah, great idea. So now it will tell you when you go in there if you already run it and what you ran and who ran it and when.
I did it yesterday. And I'm like, oh yeah, I already did send this message for the optimization. Great. I don't have to do it again, but it's awesome. It's already updated. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the good idea. We did draw the line. I had a little argument with my team about it. We drew the line. We show you the last change. We don't show you every possible change if you ran it like 10 times. But it does tell you you did other changes. Okay, so now hopefully everyone here knows where this is, how to click and use it. We wanted to dive into a real world example about how Adam used this in a real campaign. So tell us about this campaign.
So this was a new release of our 2019 Martha's Vineyard Cabernet Sauvignon for Heights Cellar. Always a big fan favorite. This was going out to non-members. This is actually our first test with it too. So I was like, why not throw it out there for one of our biggest wines? It's test out the AI. So the week before we sent out this text, we sent out a save the date, letting people know, hey, this is coming up. We're going to release our 2019, but we're also going to add a library 2009. This is like your opportunity. We only have 8 cases available. And then we said, this is the date we're going to send it. The day before we actually sent out the email, we sent out a text to some of our big buyers, some of people who have purchased in the past, like, hey, we're going to give you early access to purchase this wine before everyone else on our mailing list gets this email. So that's what we threw it out with.
Nice. Full disclosure, I did personally receive this text message and bought some wine from it. Yes. And then I learned afterwards that they used the AI on it for the first time. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad it didn't call me out. Okay, so afterwards I connected with Adam and we talked about like, hey, what did this help you with? And the first thing you mentioned is it saved you time because you were trying to do some of this stuff, right?
Yeah, so like, I pulled the list and everything, I export it out. And I'm like, okay, they just purchased or they haven't purchased. And I want to make sure that these are going out to the biggest people. So I'll spend people like, who has purchased Martha's Vineyard before? Okay, add you to this list. But now I'm like, let's just trim it down, let AI figure it out.
Now this one is a little bit of a guess because we do not have a crystal ball, right? I can't go back in time and say, what if we did send it to the people who came out? But the goal of doing this is to increase the return per send of message, right? So I think this took out about 500-ish recipients
Right.
that you would have sent to otherwise. And assuming the AI was correct, that would have increased your ROI by like 50%. So unfortunately, no crystal ball. I can't tell you for sure, but if I had an 8-ball, I would say looks promising. Also, this was a total surprise to me. You said you use the graphs for like an unrelated purpose. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we had like another release, I think it was like last week. We had another release going out. We sent out a text message about it. And then this week, my boss was like, let's send out another text message about the campaign that we just did last week, reminding people about the release. And I'm like, it seems too close. We just sent out this message last week. Let me just look at the graph and like just show them like where somebody responded to a text and how long we should wait until sending them another text. And it showed like 60 or 80 days. I'm like, 7 days is a little too close. They're like, okay. So then we decided to pivot. So we decided to do another campaign for people who didn't receive the text last week to receive a new library release instead. So instead of bugging them with one offer that they weren't that interested in again, we're going to give them something else to try out.
Yeah. And that leads perfectly into another benefit here is minimizing your opportunity cost, right? We know that, there's only so much wine people can buy. So people buy wine from text messages, but it doesn't mean that you can just text them every day and they'll keep buying wine from those. So if you can avoid sending a text message at a bad time, it means the good time is going to roll around faster for those recipients. So the goal is you can continue to send the same amount or maybe even more campaigns, but you can vary who they're going to at the right times. Does that make sense? Okay, good. I said all new material. And this campaign did pretty good.
Yeah, so this was the pre-release results from that text. So before the actual email went out, this is the day before a campaign. And then obviously more campaigns went after that.
Awesome. Yeah. Were you happy with it?
Absolutely. Yeah, everyone was.
Nice. Okay. So I mentioned already that you can customize the model if you would like for your specific brand. So this is how you get in it to do it if you would like to. Full disclosure, I don't think a lot of people will want to go in here and mess with these numbers, but they are there if you would like to. Okay. So on that same screen where you can see all the results, you can go in and in that action menu, you can view or edit your model. For each of the 4 layers, you'll see what is the graph that our model has. And what are the parameters for how we're treating this layer? And you can click on the pencil icons next to any one of those parameters to edit it. Now, this can be done for your account in general, but you can even get in there like per specific message and say, for this message, I want it treated this way. Okay, so we're gonna get a little nerdy here, apologize. These are the parameters you can customize about each layer. So first is the weight. We talked about it again a little bit before. Weight is how much are we counting this layer? If you don't want to count it, you would set a weight of 0. Okay. Temperature is a measure of how much you think day to day your customers vary their behavior. So how much like a specific customer behaves differently on Monday versus Tuesday. That's temperature. I know we're stretching it a little bit here. But it was interesting when we were going over these slides, you mentioned you have a particular type of buyer that is more consistent than others.
Yeah, aside from our members, Martha's Vineyard buyers. Like if they bought Martha's Vineyard in the past, they're going to buy it again. So I haven't done it yet, but this is where I would change the temperature, bring it down, just because I know that this is already going to be a specific group that's going to want this. So let's turn it down a bit.
Yeah, that was interesting. I hadn't thought about that. That was so neat. Okay, then we have customer variance. I think each of these is getting more obscure. So customer variance is similar but different than temperature. Temperature is how much the same customer varies from day to day, but customer variance is how much each of your customers vary from each other. Are your customers very similar to one another? Or let's say your price points vary dramatically, then your customers might vary more from one another. And the last one is the mean. It basically represents what is your most typical customer here. So again, I do not think many people are going to go in here and play with these numbers, but we did this for a very specific reason. Once we can get you using the model more, then RedChirp can compare your actual results to the original predictions, and then we can suggest, based on that your brand should change these weights or these numbers because of what we can actually observe. But it does involve actually using the model, so that's coming in the future. I think that will be more practically useful than you editing these yourselves, but detail, transparency, control, you have the option to do that. Yes?
Think of an example where you would change these?
Sure, good question. Where is an example where we would change these? Okay, so weight, for example, if you do not want to count something, like if you said, exactly, that you might say, I'm going to change the weight of club membership status to 0, okay? Or Adam's example is like, this is a message from Martha's Vineyard purchasers, their temperature, super low. No matter when I send this, they're going to buy it. Yeah, welcome. But mostly, I think you'll just wait till RedChirp tells you, hey, for brand A, we think the number should be this.
Yeah, I've never messed with the numbers, but it is also nice that you can do it and you can restore back to the defaults too. So like, ooh, I messed around with this. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, so I'll go back.
Thank you for pointing that out. Yes, sir.
Are the knobs custom to each of the different layers, like the time since the last one?
Yes.
And then also in terms of being able to set a specific number, let's say that your winery has segmented its customers into different groups based on purchase habits or some other factors that it has. And it only wants to send to a specific segment. Can that be weaved in so that it's influenced in the system where only that segment gets it in terms of the restricting the numbers?
Yes. I'm going to repeat both your questions and the answers in case people didn't hear. So the first question is, can you control these things for each of the 4 layers? And yes, you can. So these settings apply to each layer, and you can edit them independently. So you could change the weight to time since last non-club purchase to 0, and you can not affect the other weights. His second question was, what if I really segment my customers and I want to apply these changes to just one segment of them? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. You can edit your model for a particular bulk message. So the way you would accomplish that is maybe you send the same content, the same bulk message, twice. One is to segment 1, and you edit the model for that segment differently than you edit the model for bulk message 2. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Actually, what I meant to say was, when you're able to select the specific number you want to set.
Oh, yes.
If your segments can be different sizes.
Yep.
And all that. So can you actually have it just simply default to a segment, which might be, say, 400 customers, versus entering simply 400?
So you do have to enter the number. There's no place to enter a default that it always goes to. What it starts at is the total number of recipients. So if you have 2,000 potential recipients, it starts at 2,000 and you slide it for each message. Because you could also upload a list less than your default. Yeah, great. Oh, I love the detail. This is great. Okay, we have a couple minutes. I'm just checking someone, 9:35 or 10:35? 10:35. Okay, great. Perfect timing. So while we are on the subject of how you can make smarter recipient lists, I wanted to touch on some other ways you might not know about, or that kind of came up already as being interesting outside or in addition to the AI. Does anyone in here, raise your hand, work with Wine Pulse? Awesome. If you don't know about this, there's a really great way that you can add recipients from a Wine Pulse report. There's a RedChirp section in Wine Pulse that you can get really great lists, and you just drag the CSV into there. And then you could apply the AI if you would like to.
There's also that awesome report you guys worked with WinePulse to get more detail on the analytics.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Thank you. There's also a RedChirp app from Wine Pulse where they pull in all of the order attribution afterwards, which is really neat. Thank you. I forgot about that. I apologize to Rennie. Raise your hand if you use Commerce 7. Awesome. So this is brand new. We just completed it. We did our first round of beta testing, and one of our wonderful devs, Avery, is working on some of the burn downs from that, some improvements we learned about from the first round of beta testing this week. It allows you to say, I want to add everybody who has not yet customized a specific upcoming club shipment to this message. So that's in there. You can use it. There's a big warning that we're still testing it, so be careful. But we're doing those burn downs, and then I think it'll probably be ready to come out of that warning, but it is there for you to use. And by the way, any other POS that wants to do it, no problem. Just have to give us a webhook to do it. At the DTC Wine Club Symposium in January, my co-founder and brother, Jim, was standing at the back of the room. And afterwards, he came up to me and he said, hey, I heard someone whisper to the person next to them that they wished they could remove people who had purchased, Mark, within a certain number of days. I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was you or someone else. He overheard it, and he said, oh, we could do that. So we've added it. So whoever whispered that within Jim's hearing range, thank you. So a lot of people don't know about it yet. You were surprised, right?
Yeah, when we had a call back in January, it must have been right after. It's like, oh, it's right here. I'm like, how long has this been here? And there's also the way to exclude people from $0 purchases and canceled orders too. So you can make sure that those people are in or out of it as well.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm confused about how move recipients that place use order is different from what you were just talking about with the not.
I'm so glad you asked, because it is confusing.
2 different ways.
Yeah. So this one is very specific. If you want to control exactly how many days, I want people removed if they've made a purchase within 9 days, then you use this. With the AI, it does consider how many days it's been, but you don't know exactly how many days. That's going to change depending on the recipient list and your model and how you've edited anything in your layers. So it's going to do a similar thing, but you don't have exact control over the timing. Does that make sense? Okay. This one, I almost didn't put in here because I don't think it's as widely applicable, but hey, it might come in handy. You can tell RedChirp with this setting, hey, before you send it, add any recipients that aren't already in here, but are on a specific list. Why might this come about? Okay, I had a winery who wanted to have people sign up to get harvest updates. So we made a form in RedChirp, they'd sign up to get harvest updates. And then they would send a bulk message to everybody who'd signed up to get harvest updates. It automatically added them to a list. If you prepared your message on Friday and you set it to send automatically on Monday, someone might fill out that form and get on the list between Friday and Monday, and this would catch that and add them before it sends it. So not super widely applicable, but it's there if you need it.
Is that a list in RedChirp, or could I pull that from a Commerce 7 tag?
Yeah, where does that list come? That is a list from RedChirp. So it is specifically a RedChirp list that usually most commonly people are automatically added to a list when they fill out a specific form.
I have people who say, no matter what it is, I want the text. Anytime you send the text, and right now I'm adding them individually, so that is
Add them to a list?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manually add them to that list.
So you can add them one time to a list and then use this, and you never have to manually add them to a bulk message. Oh, good. We helped someone with it. Great.
Does the before sending override the filter of 7 days, or does that always, if you have remove anybody that's purchased in the last 7 days, does that also filter this?
Yeah. What is the order of operations here? That before sending happens after the list, right before you send. So the remove people happened when you clicked on it, and it's just done when you're done clicking on it. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? We're gonna take it then because we're almost done. Promise. I don't want to run over for the next people. And then these are our most common filters that people use to automatically remove people if they've gotten another bulk message or a specific bulk message. All right, we have just talked through a lot of detail, a little bit of housekeeping in the 3 minutes that we have left. Okay. So first of all, since we're on the subject of AI, Adam is helping us test another new AI feature.
Just love AI.
Yeah. I'm less excited about this one, but we'll see what happens in our testing. It's to help you edit your content. So instead of like throwing something in Chat GPT, it's trained instead with real data from real text campaigns to real wineries and how well they worked. You sent this yesterday?
Yeah, went out yesterday. Yep.
So we don't have results yet,
Right.
but pending soon. You can see the original message and then the AI suggestion. And our first AI model here, what it really seems to do is just shorten.
Shorten. And that's always been my thing. I'm like, we send messages and they're way too long and like way too much information. So I'm like, let's just see. If I just throw it in there, and then we saw, I'm like, oh, that's short. It's really short. But
Yeah.
from what we've seen so far, from the messages I've seen, like people have responded more to the AI message.
Oh.
So
Interesting. All right. Official results to come soon.
Yeah.
Also, if anyone here likes to get nerdy about the state of text messaging like I do, coming down the pipeline, we don't know exactly when, is a totally new type of text message. So we have SMS, we have MMS, and coming hopefully soon, we don't know when, RCS. Couple things about RCS. It's a huge paradigm shift. RCS messages do not come from a telephone number. They come from a verified and vetted business. That is really cool in some ways because instead of saying like it's from this number, it's from this brand with a beautiful image and your logo without them having to save you in their phone. Right? They're going to be able to include more HTML, so you're going to be able to do things like image carousels. You're going to be able to have action buttons, so you can have a button at the bottom of the text that says confirm reservation or add to cart. Right? Very exciting. They're not out yet, so if you're sitting there going, I'm missing out, you're not. Only Verizon, of all the major carriers, is accepting a limited number of RCS in their testing from very few brands, so it's not rolled out carrier-wide yet. They have not yet disclosed what is the registration process going to be like and how much is it going to cost. Definitely more arduous and definitely more, but we don't know how much yet. And they also have not fundamentally disclosed how much are these messages going to cost. Again, more than MMS, but I think there's some really exciting possible applications. So we are in talks with our carrier that we use for all of our alcohol content to be a tester. So we're just kind of waiting for them to be ready for us to start testing this. If anyone here, raise your hand if you're already chirping. Good, most people in here. Awesome. If you're not and you're interested in it, you happen to be on WineDirect or Commerce7, don't miss their awesome promotion where they are paying for you to sign up and try it for 3 months with subscription. Kind of a no-brainer. You can cancel if it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, I'll be flabbergasted. If you would like a copy of these slides, take out your phone. Send a text message to 602-899-1365. And that text message should just say WSS for Wine Sales Symposium 25. All one word. You will automatically get a text back with a link to these slides and some other resources. It's 9:35. Do we have time for a question or we have to cut it off right away? Okay. Question. Yes.
It might be unique to me, but we don't have a wine club, so I'm curious how that whole thing works for us that doesn't have a wine club, where people choose their own orders.
I am so glad that you asked that. So if you didn't hear that question, we don't have a wine club. So how does this AI model that is considering whether they're in the wine club work? That is actually okay, and it can apply in all sorts of ways. Let's say the POS that you use has an integration with us, but maybe they don't send us some of this data. If we don't have the data, RedChirp just automatically sets the weight of that layer to 0. So we just don't use that layer, but you can still use all the other layers. And you don't have to do anything, that's just done automatically. And it does vary depending on what you're integrated with RedChirp, what access of information we have.
We have RTO is connected with RedChirp, but it's not a wine club. So I'm looking at last purchase.
Yep, we'll look at the other 3 layers that we do have data for, and we'll just take the wine club layer and set the weight to 0. And that's done automatically. Same thing, by the way, every single winery, when they first get started with RedChirp, we have no data about order attribution from previous bulk messages. You haven't sent any yet. It just automatically sets that particular layer to 0.
One other question I did have. After you put these through and you see like the confidence in each particular one, have you done any correlations to see how response rates correspond with the scores?
Great question. Have we gone back to look at like how did the predictions and the confidence compare to the actual results? Not yet. We have to get to more of a critical mass about how people are using it. Yeah.
Sample size is definitely important.
Exactly. Okay, please raise your hand if you learned something today. Yay, we've done our job.
Did it.
We did it. All right. Please give a huge round of applause for Adam for agreeing to do that. Thank you so much. On your seats, we left an article about this. If you don't have one, there's more at our booth.
Thank you, Jenny.
Adam.
It's been great.
Thanks, everyone.